Great movies are like fine wine. The more time passes, the better they get, especially when their sequels end up being far worse. That being said, do you really know all the hidden details and Easter eggs deliberately placed in Captain America: The First Avenger, 2011? For instance, when Captain Steve wakes up at the end of the movie and realizes he's in modern-day New York, we can see several recognizable brands and attractions from Broadway as he runs through the streets. One of them is the Phantom of the Opera, and this isn't just a random reference. It actually symbolizes what the movie's villain, Red Skull, does, hiding his deformed face behind a mask, much like the Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera does in his story. In fact, actor Hugo Weaving, who played the villain, even admitted that he drew inspiration from the Phantom when crafting his performance. Additionally, when Chris Evans finishes his run, he stops right in front of a Bank of America sign. Beyond the obvious connection to the character, America, right? The bank's logo also uses the same red, white, and blue colors as Captain America's suit. Not only was this great product placement, but it was also a clever thematic connection. Today, we're diving into the most mind-blowing secrets and Easter eggs hidden in Captain America: The First Avenger. If you want your mind blown, stick around and check out this video now. We all know that Marvel once had the brilliant habit of weaving its stories together in smart and logical ways. Yeah, once. That hasn't really been the case for a while now, but that's a topic for another video. The fact is, in one of the first scenes of Captain America, we're introduced to the city of Tønsberg, Norway. Interestingly, we've seen this exact city 2 more times in the MCU so far. The first was in Thor 2011, where we see Odin and his army battling the frost giants in Tønsberg, except this time it's 3,000 years before World War II. The second time we see it is in Avengers Endgame 2019. You might not have realized it, but the strange-looking new Asgard where Thor now lives, that's Tønsberg, Norway. You can even see the original name on the sign beneath the new city's name. But these aren't the only Thor-related references in Captain America: The First Avenger. When Red Skull finds the Tesseract, we can see an image carved into the stone wall behind him. It's Yggdrasil, the sacred tree in Norse mythology that also exists in the Marvel Universe, connecting the 9 realms, including Asgard. Jumping to the scene where Bucky rescues the still skinny Steve from a beatdown in an alley, we see Bucky punch the bully and then kick him in the butt for good measure. Right after, Bucky notices Steve's enlistment form and realizes he lied about his address. In a subtle move, Bucky tosses Steve's enlistment form away, without Steve even noticing. He likely does this to protect his friend, either from the disappointment of being rejected yet again, or maybe even from the war itself. The two then head to Stark Expo, and right at the entrance, we get a reference to the mastermind behind all these Marvel characters. The sign says Modern Marvels, and guess what? Marvel is right there in the name. Inside the expo hall, the Easter eggs just keep coming. For example, one of the first things we see is a reference to Dr. Phineas Horton, a character from Marvel's Golden Age of comics. Dr. Horton first appeared in Marvel Comics #1 back in 1939 as the creator of the original Human Torch, an android capable of igniting into flames, decades before the Fantastic Four was even created in 1961. Another fun detail about Dr. Phineas Horton is that in the comics, he himself actually became the Human Torch and fought alongside Captain America in World War II as part of a superhero squad known as the Invaders. And here's an interesting fact for fans of older superhero movies. Chris Evans himself played Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, in Fantastic Four, 2005. So yeah, this Easter egg featuring the first Human Torch definitely wasn't a coincidence. Now, in honor of the first Avenger, tell us in the comments, who's your favorite superhero? Mine's Spider-Man. When the skinny Steve enlists, he meets the German scientist Dr. Erskine, the creator of the super soldier serum. Seeing the right potential in Steve, Erskine selects him as the first candidate to use the serum, a breakthrough that could change the course of the war. Upon arriving at the military base, we see Steve unpacking his belongings. Among them is a book titled Heroes of the Western Front, a real-life book about Sergeant Alvin Cullum York. York initially sought exemption from military service due to his pacifist religious beliefs. However, he eventually served in the U.S. Army, where he made history on October 8, 1918, during the Meuse-Argonne offensive in France. That day, he led an attack that resulted in the capture of 132 German soldiers and the neutralization of multiple enemy machine gun nests, actions that earned him the Medal of Honor. It is claimed that he personally took down 25 enemies in that episode. A film titled Sergeant York, depicting his wartime heroics, was released in 1941, the same year Captain America: The First Avenger takes place. Fun fact, Gary Cooper, the actor who played Sergeant York, won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his portrayal. Now that's what I call a reference. Moving forward, once Steve undergoes the transformation process, Dr. Erskine mentions Vita rays, a detail that stays completely faithful to the original story created by Jack Kirby. Then, the scene intensely focuses on Steve Rogers' eyes opening. This moment is strikingly similar to a scene in The Incredible Hulk, 2008, where Bruce Banner, played by Edward Norton, has a nearly identical reaction after his transformation. Here's a detail many fans don't know. Originally, Marvel had planned for Edward Norton's Bruce Banner to be the one to discover Captain America's frozen body. The idea was that Banner would travel to the Arctic in a suicidal attempt to end his own life. However, instead of dying, the Hulk would emerge, rage out, and smash through the ice, accidentally freeing Steve Rogers from his frozen prison. During Captain America's transformation process, we see Howard Stark turning a valve, and once again, Vita rays are prominently displayed on the control panel. After the German spy assassinates Dr. Erskine and steals a sample of the super soldier serum, Steve immediately chases after the villain. At one point, Steve grabs a taxi door, which features a large star in the center. This, of course, is a clear foreshadowing of the symbol that we all recognize today, Captain America's iconic shield. During the gunfire, a woman in the crowd takes a photo of the scene. That exact photo later appears on newspaper covers, showing Steve holding the taxi door we just mentioned. Jumping back a bit to the famous grenade scene, there's a subtle yet revealing detail that many miss. When Colonel Phillips throws the fake grenade, Steve jumps on it without hesitation. But if you look closely, you'll notice that Agent Carter also starts running toward the explosive. This suggests that she could have been worthy of the super soldier serum as well, something that actually happens in Marvel's What If. Luckily for Steve, he got there first. If you love movies, games, and even pop culture cartoons, you definitely don't want to miss out. Subscribe to the channel right now. Speaking of Colonel Phillips, one particular scene in the movie was specifically designed as a nod to one of Tommy Lee Jones's most iconic roles. In the scene where he, Agent Carter, and Captain America are in a car, he presses a red button that activates the nitro boost, making the vehicle much faster. If you've ever watched Men in Black, you'll recognize this moment, because Agent K, played by Tommy Lee Jones, tells Agent J to press a similar red button that activates the same function in their car.
You remember the little red button?
Yeah.
Push the little red button. And you may want to put on a seatbelt.
But without a doubt, the coolest detail is that the button Colonel Phillips presses has the letter K on it, a clear reference to Agent K, just in case you had any doubts about the homage. After officially becoming Captain America, Steve starts participating in multiple promotional events. In one of them, when the scene opens, the stage and its colors perfectly resemble Captain America's shield. This is interesting because, at this point in the story, he still hasn't received his iconic shield from Tony Stark's father. Instead, he's using the first version of the shield that appeared in Captain America's earliest comics, along with a suit identical to the one from those same early stories. In fact, the scene where Captain America punches an actor portraying Hitler is a direct recreation of the cover of his very first comic book. We even see the comic selling like crazy afterward, now that Steve Rogers has become a celebrity. Once Captain America is finally sent to war, he leads a mission to rescue a group of captured soldiers who then become his team. One of them is Jim Morita. The cool part, we actually see this character again in the MCU. In Spider-Man Homecoming, a black and white photo of him is displayed at Peter Parker's school because he's the grandfather of Principal Morita. While he was still alive, Stan Lee, the brilliant mind behind Marvel Comics, always made cameo appearances in Marvel movies. What's interesting is that in his cameo in Captain America, the first Avenger, standing right next to him is a living Easter egg, actor Reb Brown. Reb Brown played Captain America in the 1970s live-action TV series. That was such a cool idea. And let's be real, we have to appreciate how much special effects have improved since then, right? We've picked out 2 more videos for you to watch and enjoy. See you in the next one.